I'm Doug Boynton, and you're listening to WHRO's Weekly Edition, where we highlight the week's news and stories happening in our area. As we settle into April, the Virginia Department of Health began a regional coalition last month to combat rising syphilis cases.
The unsafe sexual practices are increasing. And so this is really why it's not a spike, but it's been a general trend moving up from the 2000s up till now, and it keeps going up.
Norfolk's mayor says the city is still pursuing the redevelopment of its two malls, and Chesapeake Regional opened a new psychiatric emergency room this week. We'll get into these stories and more, but first, this news update from NPR. It's WHRO's Weekly Edition. Hampton Roads housing market is feeling a drag, and it's likely due to uncertainty among federal employees. WHRO's Ryan Murphy explains where the market sits.
Uncertainty among federal employees is likely putting a drag on Hampton Roads' housing market. Hampton Roads boasts the second most federal workers as a percentage of its workforce in the nation, behind only Washington, D.C. President Donald Trump's administration has aggressively sought to slash the federal workforce, and now those workers seem hesitant to put down roots. Danielle Hale is the chief economist at Realtor.com.
The general security that people feel in their jobs may be one of the contributors to the slower pending home sales number that we see in the Virginia Beach market.
New data from Realtor.com says the Virginia Beach metro area had the second biggest drop in pending home sales over the last year. 14% fewer homes are under contract this March compared to last, despite an increase in home listings. Ryan Murphy, WHRO News.
The nonprofit Nature Conservancy finalized the purchase of nearly 700 acres in Surry County, including Sunken Meadow Pond. WHRO's Catherine Hafner reports what's next.
Sunken Meadow Pond was created more than a century ago when a dam cut off flow from local streams to the James River. Karen Johnson with the Nature Conservancy previously told WHRO their proposed wetlands project would remove that dam.
Restoring and reestablishing that connection with the James is the priority to let that system return to a natural, ecologically functioning system.
But many Surry residents have pushed back against draining the beloved pond. They say it's already a valuable ecosystem for people and animals. In the coming months, the Nature Conservancy says it will seek community feedback for ways to reduce flooding and enhance wildlife habitat. Catherine Hafner, WHRO News.
Do you live in Virginia Beach? Well, the city's leaders want to hear from you about holding a referendum on the city's voting system. WHRO's Sienna Morales tells us how that could happen.
How the city elects council members has been controversial for years. The debate continues as council decided this week to have an April 15th hearing where residents can weigh in. In 2021, plaintiffs contended the 731 system with citywide elections violated voting rights. A federal court agreed and ordered the city to use a 10-1 system with district elections. That's been used the last two elections, which resulted in a more diverse council. Some city leaders want a version of the old system, but others disagree.
This one election cycle under the 10-1 system elected half as many Black council members as have been elected in the previous 60 years combined. What are we asking for? What are we returning to?
That's Councilmember Jennifer Rouse. The City Council will vote in May on holding the referendum. Sienna Morales, WHRO News.
Syphilis cases have been rising for several years in Virginia and across the U.S. In 2023, early syphilis cases in Virginia jumped by more than 20%. A regional coalition led by the Virginia Department of Health will launch next month. Syphilis was thought to be nearly eradicated in the 1990s. An emphasis on safe sex practices because of HIV had something to do with it. It reached a historic low in the U.S. around 2000, with fewer than 4 cases per 100,000 population. But a nationwide effort to completely eradicate syphilis fell short.
The unsafe sexual practices are increasing. And so this is really why it's not a spike, but it's been a general trend moving up from the 2000s up till now, and it keeps going up.
That's Dr. Susan Giroir, the Virginia Department of Health's Norfolk director. The disease is surging again among all demographic groups, including seniors and newborns. In Virginia, the surge is worse in Hampton Roads. Giroir says the highest since well before the 1990s. Nearly 1,000 early and late cases were reported last year in Hampton Roads. 15 congenital cases in newborns passed to them by their mothers.
We're seeing it in babies now because it's rising among just the female population of reproductive age. So if folks are not testing women before they get pregnant, and certainly should be tested during pregnancy, we are seeing a rise in the number of infants with it.
Dr. Larry Leslie is the Deputy Medical Director of the Emergency Department at Centera Norfolk General Hospital. He says patients arrive not always knowing they have syphilis.
Patients can present in the early stages where they may have a sore or just an ulcer. They may present in more advanced stages where they have a rash. Patients may present with another complaint and be asymptomatic.
Leslie says as treatments for HIV have evolved, sexual practices have relaxed.
The big one is HIV with sexually transmitted infections, and of course chlamydia and gonorrhea are there as well, but syphilis also. And people don't typically think of that. And it's something that in terms of your sexual health, if you are sexually active, you should be having the conversation with your primary care provider as to whether or not you may be engaging in behaviors that put you at increased risk for syphilis.
Giroir says one of the population segments seeing a disproportionate increase in syphilis cases is seniors.
Maybe many are divorced, many are widows, and certainly back in having relationships with other people, and probably not using safe practices because the risk of pregnancy, for example, isn't there. But risk of STDs is still high.
Giroir and Leslie agree that there is one key to reducing the number of syphilis cases: testing.
We see a lot of people testing here, and we have a test and go clinic. Every health department in this region, and in fact the United States and certainly Virginia, has a testing opportunity, a confidential test and go, or you can come in for the full evaluation if you have symptoms. Get testing and treatment right here.
For people that are sexually active, is really to have the conversation with their healthcare providers to determine their risk and to be screened. I would say knowing is half the battle.
To know, the health department in your city offers testing for syphilis. You'll find out more at vdh.virginia.gov/syphilis. Doug Boynton, WHRO News. Still ahead on Weekly Edition, WHRO's Sienna Morales visited Red Wing Park last week to dive deep into the Cherry Blossom Festival. But first, last weekend, thousands across the country joined protests against the Trump administration and its policies. In one small corner of the rural northern neck of Virginia, several hundred people marched on Main Street. Pamela D'Angelo reports for partner station WVTF.
Protesters started out from a local bookshop, snaked past the volunteer fire department, the local supermarket, and a block of vacant buildings that never recovered from a fatal fire years ago. Many of the protesters were seniors, some with walkers and canes, one in a wheelchair. And many, like Carolyn Gorman, are worried about the economy and their retirement income.
And I've taken all of my money and put it into cash. I don't want to put any money at risk, which is not good for this country when people do what I have just done.
Joe Thompson and his wife Nanette were not as lucky.
I lost 10% of my stock savings this week, and it's too late to take it out.
Watching from outside their antique store were Louis Trimble and his mother Lee. They depend on tourists and people with vacation homes here.
Last month was one of our worst months in the last couple of years. So this month's not looking any better. Luckily, we have an online presence, so that helps. Change just creates uncertainty, and people are holding on to their money.
People lost their jobs, and if they don't have jobs, how can they buy anything?
Protesters gathered behind the historic Lancaster Union Masonic Lodge and heard from Pastor Tyrone Williams of Mount Olive Baptist Church in Heathfield.
Truth, honor, and integrity seems to no longer be required in this administration, and accountability is a thing of the past.
From Kilmarnock, I'm Pamela D'Angelo.
We have the courage to stand up for what is right.
In Virginia, there were protests in Norfolk, Roanoke, Richmond, Fredericksburg, Charlottesville, and other cities. Norfolk Mayor Kenny Alexander says the city is still pushing efforts to redevelop its 2 malls. WHRO's Ryan Murphy reports on the city's progress.
Alexander unveiled plans to build a joint fitness center and library on Norfolk's east side at his annual State of the City speech.
The facility will serve as an anchor for the planned mixed-use development at the site of the former Military Circle Mall.
The city has tried for years to spur redevelopment there, even soliciting proposals from developers in 2021. Norfolk rejected them when they all included requests for city funding. Alexander also says the city's brought on a master developer to plan the redevelopment of MacArthur Mall downtown. The vision for the redevelopment, as a major mixed-use development with a hotel, was the centerpiece of the mayor's State of the City address last year, but there's been no firm plans released since then. Ryan Murphy, WHRO News.
The Trump administration is working to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. 2 largest funding sources it oversees for public schools are Title I and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. WMRA's Randy B. Hagee looked at how Virginia schools use that money.
Inside a classroom at Bluestone Elementary in Harrisonburg, 3 students sat with teacher Alexandra Vasquez, working on reading and writing the letter R.
Crayon. This is a picture of a
red crayon.
Very good. Okay, let's look at some words that begin with R. For example, this is the word rat. Repeat.
Rat.
Good. This is the word
Run.
Good. Repeat.
Run.
This is one of 12 groups in an after-school program where students who need extra help in reading or math get individualized attention. Title I funds are allocated to schools with high numbers of students from low-income families. Here, they pay for teachers to work these extra hours outside the normal school day.
What students are really working on at this level is phonics and decoding.
Peter Norman is the principal here.
So if they're working on, say, like a consonant, vowel, consonant word like cat or hat, then the text that they would be practicing reading is full of those patterns.
Teachers can recommend students to the once-a-week after-school program if their reading or math scores are falling behind and their families agree for the kids to participate. 9-year-old Junior Leonos Peralta really likes science and math.
I'm learning about trapezoids, and then in science, this happened on Friday, but a teacher came to my room for a science experiment. She put blue food coloring in the water, and then
but comes to the after-school program to work on his
reading.
What are you reading?
Nothing. I just gotta learn. Because I'm not in the same level as all my other friends.
Vasquez is a kindergarten teacher by day, but works with 3rd and 4th graders after school.
This is a skill that you need for the rest of your life. And knowing my own family members that didn't get the extra practice and how much they would have benefited from having this, I think seeing this within students, I'm like, okay, I want to make sure that they don't feel alone or like they can't do these things when they can. And I'm willing to offer my knowledge and help them grasp what they need to know and apply that.
Harrisonburg City Public Schools received about $1.6 million in Title I and $1.5 million in IDEA funds this fiscal year. WMRA analyzed the allocations going to 16 school districts in the Shenandoah Valley and Charlottesville area. On the high end, bigger districts such as Albemarle, Frederick, and Rockingham counties receive $4.9 million to $5.5 million apiece between the 2 funds. Journey Middle School in Albemarle County uses IDEA funds to pay for a special education teacher and 2 teaching assistants who are specially trained to work with students with autism. Ashby Johnson is the middle school principal. She gave an example of one student who transferred in from the Virginia Institute of Autism last year.
We started him on a half day just to get him used to being in a comprehensive middle school setting, and was just given, a lot of support both academically but also socially, emotionally, and how to navigate the middle school. Now he's one of our full-time students. And that program was crucial in making sure that he was able to be successful in the school that he should be attending based on where he lives.
Harrisonburg also uses their IDEA funding to pay for special education staff, 11 teachers and 6 instructional assistants across K through 12. Ken Hill, the director of special education services, said the district offers a wide range of support to its roughly 750 students with an IEP, or individualized education program.
Reading, math, written language, behavior, social skills, personal daily skills depending on the complex needs. We provide occupational therapy, physical therapy. There's assistive technology support that's also provided. Could be adaptive physical education.
Tripp Gibson's 10-year-old son, Emmett, gets speech therapy, occupational therapy, and musical therapy through his public elementary school.
The physical therapy is great. He's gone from when he first started school, he wasn't walking. We're just now getting to the point where he walks up steps.
2 of the things Emmett loves are being around other people and the comedic rock band The Aquabats.
We don't have low expectations for Emmett. Our expectations for Emmett are the same as our other 2 kids.
Gibson said the teachers and therapists at Emmett's school have been crucial to his growth and development.
We know what is said about our kids. We want them to be productive members of society. And we know that getting this funding from IDEA is the access we need to get those opportunities to not only make it through school, but from when we transition to adulthood, that we can get a job, that we can live independently. That starts with our school and our special education.
NPR reports the Trump administration has promised funds like Title I and IDEA, which are protected by law, will be preserved, albeit administered by other federal agencies, and without the data experts who determine which schools qualify for how much money. I'm Randy B. Hagee.
This is WHRO's Weekly Edition. Remember, for any stories you've missed, you can visit us on the WHRO smartphone app or all social media platforms.
Chesapeake Regional Medical Center celebrated the official opening of a new psychiatric emergency room this week. WHRO's Ryan Murphy explains how it will be used.
Patients seeking psychiatric treatment sometimes had to wait days in Chesapeake Regional's emergency room for space at facilities across the state to open up.
For far too long, individuals in this region experiencing a mental health crisis have had limited access to focused, immediate, and respectful care. Today, that changes.
That's Amber Ejit, Chesapeake Regional's Chief Operating and Nursing Officer. The new psychiatric emergency room will allow those in need of psychiatric care to get away from the stress of a typical ER and connect directly with clinical staff who can treat them. It'll also help reduce the need for police officers to monitor those patients. The ER will start accepting patients in a few weeks. An inpatient facility for those who can't be treated in the ER is expected to open with 20 beds early next year. Ryan Murphy, WHRO News.
Williamsburg is mulling increasing meals, hotel, and ticket taxes to shore up its 2026 budget. WHRO's Nick McNamara covered that story.
City Manager Andrew Trivett's proposed budget calls for upping taxes on meals by 2%, hotel stays by 3%, and introduces a new tax on event tickets. He expects those, alongside various cuts and hiring freezes, will generate a more than $250,000 surplus for the year despite current economic uncertainty.
We've just got to do what we always do, and that is monitor it very closely, make adjustments as we need to.
Trivett proposed a 10% ticket tax, though Mayor Doug Pons wants to see that halved. Councilmember Barbara Ramsey floated the possibility of varying the rate by tax class, not to overburden charitable events. Trivett says staff will return with the budget implications, but expects it would require more cuts to projects in the city's capital improvement plan. If approved, the new taxes would be effective in January. Nick McNamara, WHRO News.
Trees are flowering in Red Wing Park. WHRO's Sienna Morales takes us to the Cherry Blossom Festival in this audio postcard.
In Virginia Beach, the flowers are blooming.
Whenever you're ready, begin.
peaceful.
Seems like almost magical.
The cherry trees are fleeting. I'm sure that's why all of you are here today.
I always want to see the cherry blossoms. Knowing that it was locally, I just wanted to come out and take some pictures and just enjoy the view.
We just randomly search for play day and then find out, oh, there's a nice playground. And then when we park, we find out, oh, there's a cherry blossom festival.
Accident. I didn't know they had cherry blossoms in Redwood Park.
We actually came from Virginia, next to the Washington, D.C. We came all the way to see this beautiful cherry blossom, even though we have there also. We are originally from Ukraine, and also we have a double celebration today because she just got the citizenship. Yes, my mom. We just came from ceremony right away here.
In old ancient Japan, samurai would go to the cherry trees to write a haiku.
When the wind falls and you see all the cherry blossoms like falling down to the ground, it's beautiful.
Living in a city-ish, I guess, kind of, is like a lot of noises, a lot of like cars. And coming here, it's a lot more closer to nature, a lot quieter and peaceful, you know.
Yeah, it's just the sky, like a heaven, you know, like a little part of the heaven. Yeah, like a puffy cloud, she say, and like, for me, it's like a heaven. When you look up and the sun and all these bees, you know, it's just giving you life. It's giving you hope.
So beautiful, romantic. It reminded me of their peak is very short period. It reminded me like cherish the life and enjoy every day.
So I'll do a haiku for you. So I'm going to look at these trees and I'm going to do a small bow. Pink flowers full of life, swaying in the wind with all the people. Fleeting moment is today. That would be my haiku. I won't remember what I said, so you'll have to tell me.
Sienna Morales, WHRO News.
Those were voices and sounds of the Cherry Blossom Festival in Virginia Beach. You've been listening to WHRO's Weekly Edition. We had help today from WHRO's Sienna Morales, Nick McNamara, Ryan Murphy, Michelle Hankerson, and Catherine Hafner. WVTF's Beverly D'Angelo, and WMRA's Randy B. Hagee. Thanks as always to Connor Worley, who produced today's show. A reminder, you can always catch full episodes on the Weekly Edition podcast feed. You can get your news updates at WHRO.org, the WHRO smartphone app, and the WHRO Reports podcast feed. For all of us at WHRO and WHRV, I'm Doug Boynton. Stay safe. Be well.